o'clock. Welcome to the Montego Municipal Regional Planning Commission meeting, rescheduled today, Thursday, May the 7th at 4 p.m. local time. Roll call: Alec Mosley.
Here.
Greg Maloof.
Here.
Dan Sargent is hopefully on his way. Dan Brown.
Here.
Welcome back.
Thank you, sir.
Katie Trahan is unable to attend, and Richard Blunt here. Debbie is not able to be here, and Katie is our secretary of the commission, and she's not here, but we're going to get the minutes off of Michelle's broadcast. So we'll be taking what notes we can. We'll get the minutes from there. Just want to let everybody know. I assume there's no objections to that. Okay. Hello, Grant.
How'd it go?
Hearing of persons having business with the commission. Do you have any updates you want to give us on anything before we, Jonathan?
I mean, I don't have, that would be in the reports of officers committee, so I don't have anything.
Okay.
And then if anybody in the public has anything they want to bring
Yes,
up,
ma'am.
that's
What's the status on the fence?
On who?
The fence? The fence?
Fence. I do not have an update. The fence has really never come in front of the planning committee. Maybe the mayor can.
I defer to Nate. Do you have a comment about the fence?
I can give you some history. So the fence was built in coordination with our codes enforcement officer. That officer granted permission on perhaps on the basis of an ordinance that had some incorrect wording in it, and therefore it seems to have been, because of that bad wording, that it might have been within the letter of the ordinance as he interpreted it. We have since found that there might be some alternative interpretations of the ordinance. We have also corrected the word that was incorrect in the ordinance originally. But given the fact that that fence was built with the blessing and in coordination with our codes enforcement officer and based on some erroneous language within our code, at least the council in discussion doesn't feel like we feel like we're culpable enough that we would like to come to an amicable solution with the landowner, and have chosen not to go an enforcement route. How's that? And we're in ongoing conversations with the homeowner.
And there's nothing about it that's come before the planning commission.
No.
The reason I deferred to Nate, let me say this. It's in the downtown business district, in area C1 that Imagine Mount Eagle and that operation has been reviewing and studying. So I think when they get to refining and defining C1 area, that may or may not impact the fence. But we'll see how negotiations develop.
Okay. Has everybody had a chance to review the previous meeting minutes of March the 3rd? Any issues that we need to discuss?
I move we accept the minutes as submitted.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those for?
Any discussion? That's when you do the corrections. That's where you do the corrections and the additions.
Is there a correction?
You asked them, but I don't have.
Okay.
Any other additions or corrections to the minutes? Okay, then vote.
All those for?
Aye.
All against? Motion carries. Reports of officers and committees.
Actually did want to mention, we did have a staff approved plat that I reviewed and it was good to go. I think they came in today to get it signed. I don't think it's signed yet, soon because Katie's not been able to come in. And then we do have some potential site plans. I know one site plan for an RV park is, they're dealing with issues with septic, so they're trying to resolve that before they want to bring it to planning commission. I haven't heard more on that. The other thing is for the food pantry that we talked about last year. They asked for more memorial, whether they could have food pantry that would be allowed as a zone use in planning commission. Said based off the LUPA, which is religious, basically we can't define what a religious use is, a church use is. So if it's in coordination with their church. So they should be having a site plan that's going to be on next month's agenda. And also in talking about site plans, I know that I would like to see the planning commission figure out a better way of how when we do submittals for site plans and stuff, because right now people send me PDFs, but at the same time there's also within your municipal code an ordinance for engineering review. And the question is, when do I release my review when I'm done? And when does engineer release their review? And we want to make sure we're not holding up a developer who says, well, your zoning ordinance says that I just have to submit a site plan. There's nothing in the zoning ordinance that says any review fee. They have to go to the municipal code, which they may or may not know. So that's something I think we need to incorporate within the zoning ordinance. And I think we need to have a process of what constitutes a site plan submittal. Who receives it first? I would argue it probably should be the town should receive it and then disperse it to everyone that should review it. And then it goes back to the town and then back to the developer. I think that's a process. That's something that I would recommend that we put an ordinance together that clearly states that.
I can see where that would be beneficial in speeding the process up.
Yeah.
By the time we get it, it's too late.
Yeah, and it makes it difficult, again, because, I don't want to be the arbitrator of what should and should not be on the agenda or when they get the review, because my review may be ready 2 or 3 weeks ahead, but the engineer hasn't reviewed it because they haven't paid a fee, and the town's not going to release it until they pay the fee. So we want to make sure that we're giving everything with due diligence to the developer, not giving them a surprise that they're not aware of.
Was that not covered in what we did the other day?
I don't think it was.
No.
But Jim, do you have in mind what such a...
I could put some language together.
What such an amendment ought to look like?
Yeah, I think so. I would reference that they need to reach out to town staff in terms of the costs of the engineering fee, review fee. That all site plans have to be first submitted to the town, and then it's dispersed to the planner, the town engineer, and any other relevant staff. And then the review will be sent back by the town. So I give it to the town to disperse it versus me giving it. So it also gives it where, the town has full control over how all the review is sent. There's a chain of custody.
So you're saying the first step should be the engineer's review, and if it meets all the utility requirements, you'd look at it from the planning side?
If that's how you want to approach it. I don't want, again, we don't want to delay, because I can start my review as soon as you guys are ready to disperse it for review. So I think the reason I say, the idea is that a developer submits a site plan. They want to submit their site plan, but that site plan can't be reviewed until an engineering fee has been paid. Once that engineering fee has been paid, the town, so Debbie or whoever, sends the copies to the town engineer, to me and any other relevant staff to review, and send our reviews back to the town. So that way, there's a clear chain of custody of how this is due. They know, the developer knows, hey, until your fee's paid, we're not reviewing anything. Engineer's not reviewing anything. I'm not gonna review anything because there's no point in me reviewing something, but the engineer might not review it until a few days before the planning commission meeting. And that's not enough time for the developer to be able to review back because they haven't paid a fee.
Well, I thought you were getting the plans as soon as the engineer got the plans, but I understand the traffic flow of that.
Yeah.
And we can work on that if you prepare that.
Yeah, I can prepare an amendment. That's
But
something
usually
that.
what happens too, is some developers know that they should see you
Yeah,
through whatever process of communication it is. And others will contact me first as mayor and say, what do I do? I'll say, see Jonathan.
Mhm.
Now, if you want me to plug in the engineering aspect, I can do that very easily.
yeah.
I didn't know if it was the first step or the last step.
Why don't we let Jonathan prepare proposed amendments that do what he says needs to be done?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can put that together, so that way it's something that we have, especially for our site plan. I think that it was still, we would do also for the subdivision regulations, because engineering fees would also apply to subdivisions.
Well, it depends on the complexity of the site plan as well. You know, if it's 1 acre and a lot of nothing, that takes X
Yeah,
time.
well,
Something-
it's based off whatever your guys' ordinance has. So
Yeah.
I would look at that ordinance and then I would refer to, I would put, hey, refer to town ordinance, whatever the signed town ordinance is.
Okay.
And refer to town staff for engineering fee. Well, what I might do is just put that engineering fee in the zoning ordinance. So that way, that might be the good thing, is just put it there so we have it within, that might actually be the easiest way to do it.
Add it to that checklist.
Yeah, add to the checklist, yeah.
Are we not relevant staff that you can send it to?
So the first stuff is, the way that site plan reviews and, subdivision is you go through your professional staff and then once we've reviewed it and put all the stuff, you guys can review it, with the agendas. I don't think usually those are sent out because you don't want to be making deliberations that early in the
I don't
process.
want to receive it until it's been reviewed by the people
Exactly.
who review it. So
Yeah.
But anything that we can do to where we get it in enough time to look at it?
But that was the 2 weeks and the 2 weeks, right?
Well, that was never passed, so I can't find anything in the records that says that there's a deadline. The only deadline that we have for submittals is that you have to submit a site plan or a plat 30 days before the meeting, at least 30 days before the meeting, to be on the agenda.
I thought you needed 2 weeks to review. And then we needed 2 weeks to review or something like that. Weren't there time limits of your review and our review?
No, there's nothing that, I think, that was the discussion when I first started, and that was something that may have been what Anya had tried to do. But again, that can be difficult because if you don't have anything black and white saying, hey, this is the cutoff date for re-reviews, and this is, you can't submit a revision of your site plan past this date. And those become difficult because again, if their engineer is out of town for a week, well, they can't do anything for a week. They can't revise the plans. I know like Marion County, you can send a revised plan, I think it's like 2 business days before the meeting or something like that, or however, so like a plat. So different local governments will have their own regulations. Unless you want to put like a strict cutoff date, we're not receiving anything past this date. We're not receiving revisions. That's the only way I could get because I can't send the agenda out until, really the week before, because if somebody does rezoning, that has to be on the agenda because there's no cutoff date for a rezoning submittal or a zoning amendment text.
Okay, all right.
One other question, people keep asking me about the DeBose. Any update?
I have not heard anything about that. I think they've been, I'm not sure what they've been doing. They've not contacted me about anything. I heard somebody was trying to get they were trying to get bids. I don't know how you can get a bid for a project you don't know what's approved. So I'm not really sure. I've not heard any context on there. I don't know if they've been trying, I think there's been some issues potentially with financing, is what I've heard, but I don't know much.
Right.
I've been in contact with them pretty regularly the last 3 or 4 weeks about another issue, or another project. And they are frustrated that they're as slow as they've been, trying to tidy up some loose ends. I don't believe it's any financial problems that they're running into. They're trying to finish up some details on some water retention, some of their landscape architect work, and then a couple of parking lot and building things and power. They're unsure about which side they're going to be bringing all the power in. So they're getting closer, but they thought they would be here by now, but they are getting closer, and it's their intent is obviously still there.
Like I said, I haven't heard anything from them, so other people heard they're going to have more up-to-date information than me, because the only information I've heard is what's been given to me from co-workers that are economic development. So that may have been a year ago.
Jonathan, you brought up a pending RV park. Do we know what the location is yet?
It's the was it Wells Road? I think Wells Road. It's zoned R3. The BZA had granted approval for an RV park a few years back for that. So that's why they're. I think somebody bought some property off of that, and so they're wanting to use that.
This is a separate developer than what was planned before.
Yeah,
It's much smaller.
But yeah, the use still goes. It's the property itself. It's not the property owner that gets the use.
Okay, let's move on. Old business. I assume I still have to get a motion to talk about old business?
Yeah.
I move we consider old business.
Second.
I have a motion to go for and a second. All those for?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. We're doing this, Jonathan, because it's something you read in the minutes, in
The bylaws, yeah, I think something, I mean, you can change the vote and the bylaws where you can just go directly into old business.
do we have to do that here?
You can do it here, yeah, you just have to add it as an agenda item.
Can you draw that up for us?
Yeah.
Thank you. First I have is specific standards for downtown zoning district amendment. And Nate, I don't know if you want a short audience with this, or how you want to handle this.
Well, I think you guys have had it now for a month. I think when we talked about it last month, you guys were going to spend the month reviewing it. So I'm happy to talk through any questions or see if I can find answers to questions that you have that I don't know.
I do have a question on the primary and secondary on the chart that's in here. Can you give me specifically where it starts coming in from the west? And I'm looking at College Street. Is that the bank?
It's Assembly Avenue, it looks like.
Yeah, I believe it's at Assembly Avenue for the primary
Say
on
again?
College. And then Main Street primary extends, I may need to pull up a color map, then that may be part of it. Let me pull up a color map.
Well, then what I have, it's bolded blue on College Street.
I have the, yeah, so there was primary on College Street, but it was limited, I think, to Assembly Ave to maybe the fire station, is that right? I'm going off memory.
I'm seeing a King
Street.
If you look at what I have, it's a solid blue line. It looks like from the bank, Tower Bank.
Yeah, that's Assembly Avenue.
Yeah.
That is Assembly Avenue, that's where it starts.
Yeah, it runs to King, that sounds right.
Okay, so that's Assembly Avenue and not the bank corner?
It's the
It's the
same.
same thing.
Assembly Avenue is the
I
bank.
understand. So that the beginning point is Tower Bank property?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And the ending point looks like it's on King, which I guess that is the home builders?
Yeah, the corner builders. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And on West Main Street is the beginning point. It doesn't look like it goes all the way down to 41. It looks like it ends at some point past or at Catherine. So does that include Depot? Is that where it starts?
Yeah, I know, the map I have is black and white, so give me a second. So,
You can look at this.
yeah.
Catherine, this is the depot.
Yeah, so this has primary on Main Street, starting at Catherine Avenue, which is CVS corner
Okay,
CVS.
Okay, so that's a CVS. corner.
Yeah, running to King Street, and then primary on College, running from Assembly Avenue to King Street.
So, okay, so it does not include the Assembly property.
It would allow the primary for the Assembly property that is located on Main Street.
Okay. Okay.
That makes
Okay,
sense?
so if that is the case, forget this here, if that is the case, my question is this starting at the depot?
Yes.
You said CVS, and that was,
They're right across from each other.
okay, just want to make sure. 41's a little down further, so I just wanted to make sure that curve is what we're talking about. Okay,
Yep.
I'm good.
And if y'all will recall, the difference between primary and secondary and the rationale behind that was that they didn't think that we have enough rooftops and we're likely to have enough rooftops over the next 20 years to support pure commercial all the way through the downtown corridor. And so by separating it between primary and secondary, that allowed for some residential uses in the secondary portions of the downtown corridor.
Mr. Chair, I have a motion. I move that the Planning Commission recommend approval to the council of the proposed ordinance found in our agenda materials behind the label specific standards for downtown zoning district zoning ordinance amendment.
We have a motion, any discussion?
Second.
I'll second it.
Yeah, I thought you did.
I'm sorry.
I can hear. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
The only question I have, when you're explaining the location, does Catherine go between CVS and
Papa Ron's.
Papa Ron's?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, the blue line goes beyond Catherine, so is that going into the parking lot of Papa Ron's as part of the, or shouldn't it end at Catherine?
Again,
And maybe that's,
I'm
maybe
gonna
I'm being
pull up
too
the-
specific, but
Maybe it extends to the western side of the right-of-way of Catherine Street.
okay.
I don't know.
If everyone's happy with it.
It may make sense to have a written definition. And you can amend your motion to define that, and we can add it to it, if that is the simplest thing. And then it can be 41 or Catherine, as you prefer. And King Street seems clear enough.
Yeah.
On the other end.
We could do something where the two main streets is from the east, from the east side of, was it Assembly Lane, to the west side of King Street, and from the east side of Catherine Avenue to the west side, or the intersection.
Those are two different things. One, from Assembly down to King Street on College Street is the secondary.
Not the primary.
I thought college was secondary.
College has a shorter length of primary, simply from Assembly Avenue to King Street, which encompasses Builder Supply. And then it's all secondary. It's secondary going east of College. Of course, it doesn't extend any further.
Just make sure your definition includes both the north and south sides of 41 then. And I guess, even though the greenway is on the south side of College, but all portions of College.
But currently, we don't have a written definition as far as I see. We only have a picture. So
Yeah, I think
someone is suggesting modifying the definition. I assume we need somebody to propose some language.
I'm looking at it to see where the best place is.
I just don't want ambiguity to result later on down the road and say, well, you know, I should be getting this because I'm part of the,
You see, a Main Street, it's got a dead, it's not a road there, it ends at a dead spot going east.
Well, it looks like there may be a small road, it just isn't named on this. But,
Maybe it is, I don't know.
Oh, you know what it is? It's the, we're just zooming in. It's actually the edge of the depot parcel. You zoom into the parcel maps, that's what they've done. They've tied it to the edge of, they've actually excluded the depot parcel and tied it to the edge of the old Ray Banks building.
So the
But I
depot
think-
parcel is not included?
It is not.
Then they put it in line with Catherine, is what they've done.
Well, it looks like it's in line with old Ray Banks property line.
Well,
Well, what does that do to the south
South
side?
side,
Does that
yeah.
take in part of Papa Ron's parking lot?
It does. It does. So I would suggest we define it. Y'all have other questions, I will volunteer to sit here and find out something, and y'all can work through some other questions, and I'll bring it back to you.
unless I'm mistaken, the property owner is the same that owns the depot and the building next to it. So is that
Correct.
gonna create an issue when we're splitting their property in half?
Do y'all want it to be 41A?
I'm not sure why you would exclude the depot.
Okay. Well, let me
I
draft.
mean, unless there's rationale for it, I don't know.
You just have to be clear that the north side is going to be different than the south side in terms of a start and terminus point.
It already is, so.
It looks to me like it's directly same distance on this.
And I don't think that's,
Well, I was referring to college.
I don't think that's a road that going east on Main Street. I think that's the lot, open lot between the bank and the school. That is undefined, there's no road
where is there no road?
right here, where they're ending.
Oh, you mean a block off of Main Street?
Well, I'm done
Because Main Street just keeps going.
yeah, but they're ending this right here. This ordinance we're being asked to vote
Stop
on.
at King Street.
Well,
Could we
King
possibly-
Street is easy to define on College, but there's not a King Street,
On the highway,
yeah.
the main road.
Unless
You got to distinguish between the north side and the south side.
Is it possible to defer the vote on amending the document and on whether to approve it while Nate does some drafting and we maybe go on to the other two or the next ordinance?
Or yeah, or if that's the only question, I was assuming maybe y'all have more questions to work through while I'm typing, but I'm good either way. I'm gonna sit back here with my fellow drafter. We'll see if we can get something right.
Why don't I withdraw my motion to approve this for the president and hope that we can look at the other ordinance or next ordinance. Come back.
I withdraw my second one.
We have a motion to withdraw the previous.
I'm not sure I have to move, I think I can just do it.
No, he can just withdraw.
I just withdrew, I just withdrew it.
Okay.
So that's the next
You're talking about the north side here. I'm gonna give it that.
Well, the next ordinance, Nate's involved, the next ordinance is residential overlay amendment.
I move that the planning commission recommend to the council approval of the amendment to the zoning ordinance that is referred to as the residential overlay zoning ordinance amendment in our agenda materials. Apparently, you want to second something, or something?
I second it.
All right.
So there's a motion made and seconded. And seconded.
We have a motion made and seconded. Do we have any comments, any discussion? Before we vote, I assume we've all looked at the items that are going to be, items that are going to be accepted in the residential portion. Was there anything in there that bothers anybody? I know, Dan, you had referenced the accelerated dwelling units.
Right.
And also mobile homes, and I don't think mobile homes are.
You can't regulate any use that you allow residential, you have to allow mobile homes, because state law, Attorney General has the opinion based off of previous court cases that double wides in particular, they qualify as manufactured homes and they have the same rights as any stick-built home. So that's state law prohibits you to treat them any differently than you would a stick-built home.
Do we have a definition of the temporary dwelling unit?
Yes, that's within the zoning ordinance. Basically temporary dwelling units are, there's a medical emergency and then there's ones whenever you want to build a home. And the idea is that you can have like an RV either on your, and it explicitly excludes double wides as being allowed as a temporary dwelling unit because it's not a permanent home.
But that was during construction.
Yeah, it's during construction. So basically, there's two ways that you can do it. For medical hardship is, let's say somebody has, an aunt or a parent, but they want to take care of, but they don't want to live in the same house. So they live in an RV on there, and they also still have to be able to connect to sewer or septic and have access to that. So there's regulations on that. And it's based on the length of the amount of time that they can continue to get a doctor's note saying that this person needs aid for this.
It could go on for years, have that RV setting in the driveway?
Based on your ordinance, yes, temporary dwelling units.
I think we agreed as a subcommittee, we were going to strike that from the
That's
the residential overlay. Yeah, don't make a motion, I'll strike that. I don't see any reason to do that, because we're talking about higher density, so it seems like it's going to be harder to get a temporary dwelling unit in there anyway.
My thought process here, I don't know how much of this is zoned, is all of this currently, some of this is zoned R1, right?
Yes.
So some of them probably would already be allowed to use it. I would have to double check to see the temporary dwelling units. But temporary dwellings are already allowed in residential zoned areas.
Okay, so it wouldn't be an additional permission.
Yeah, it'd just be, and it would just be for your, and basically, I believe it's already, I would have to double check there, but I think temporary dwelling units are something that you've already allowed within all your residential zone districts. Because again, there's the medical hardship, but there's also, when you're doing construction of building, and sometimes somebody wants to stay there, because they have tools and stuff, they don't want, so a lot of people, and that's temporary, there's a finite amount of time that they have for that. And once that passes, they have to get that RV out. So it basically incentivizes them to build their construction as quickly as
But
possible.
is it specific to an RV or a travel trailer? They can't put up a temporary structure build something out of plywood.
Yeah, no, they can't build an additional structure. That's because the whole point is temporary.
Temporary,
Yeah, it's temporary. Well, it's,
made out of pallets.
well, that would require a building permit. So it's not a temporary structure that's requiring a building permit. I mean, we can strike that. I would say that if you're already allowed in some places, it may not explicit, and it might be good to strike this because any uses that are already allowed would still be allowed. Like these would be things that I think you're wanting to focus to allow or exclude from here. So I think in this situation, like a duplex is basically, duplexes aren't allowed in R1. So this will allow them to put that, but because this location is so close to downtown, you're saying, hey, this might be an area we want a little extra density or mixed use residential, something like that. We're recognizing that.
And that's what bothers me, because this area is supposed to be so close to downtown that the overlay of the residential spaces, so having a temporary dwelling, be it an RV, travel trailer, or what, without true definition of what it consists of, I'm troubled with it downtown.
Is there an acronym for what we're gonna call this?
An acronym. Now, this is just it's just going to be a residential overlay. So an overlay is not a zoning district. Well, it is in a way. Well, I guess you could say it is in a way. It basically gives you. Yeah, it is actually a zoning district. Sorry, that's a misspoken. I was thinking of another thing where in some other communities where they have an overlay, basically you petition to have an overlay.
For information, temporary dwelling units are allowed in every residential zone in this town.
Yeah, and that's what I believe. So, and like I said, it's meant for medical hardships and meant for construction. So, like I said, from some of these are, I think, commercially zoned properties. I would have to double check the map, but like, yeah, looking right here, like some of these are R1. There's commercial back here. I mean, because this looks like a part of this. So you would already be allowed to have a temporary dwelling unit. So I don't think it would be. It doesn't change it, to be quite honest, to remove it because you're already allowed to have it.
I guess one of the old movies I used to watch was Christmas Vacation, and that was not a real attractive RV that they're going to drive.
No. I get that. Like you said, like
It wasn't connected to the sewer either.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, it was
so
temporary.
there's a few commercial zone areas within this overlay that I see, but most of it's residential. So like I said, like it's already temporary dwelling units already allowed there. Like it doesn't change anything by having this in the uses in the residential. Yeah.
All I can do.
Yes, sir.
So a person wants to build a home in this area, the R1
East side.
coordinates wouldn't apply, this would apply.
Yeah, in terms of the dimensional standards, yes, they give these dimensional standards unless, I think the only thing that they have to adhere to within that zoning district is the minimum square foot of the unit. So the house has to meet the minimum square footage requirement, but everything else, they could have smaller front setbacks, smaller side setbacks, smaller rear setbacks. I think smaller minimum lot size, basically to try to promote more houses while not decreasing the size of the houses. Is what I understand. This is what the residential overlay's purpose is.
So what does all this mean? Overall, are you recommending approval?
I mean, I was put together what was sent to me. I don't see an issue with this, if this is something that you guys think is good, like you want to have higher density And when I say density, it just means that the lot sizes are smaller, you know, and you have potentially more houses near your downtown zoning district. So if that's the intent that you guys think is good, then.
Well, the
this-
lot sizes are permitted to be smaller.
Yeah,
They're not
exactly.
required to be smaller.
Yeah,
For homes, for that matter.
yeah.
And it was my understanding there was some conversation about commercial ventures on the ground floor and apartments above. And that was part of, I think, the housing issue. Is that correct?
That is allowed, you know, that, but it is not required.
Right.
That's allowed in the residential overlay?
Yes. No, I'm sorry. That is in
Okay.
C1, not in the residential
Sure, sure.
overlay.
It has nothing to do with this motion.
I don't think so.
Well, the permitted uses on the residential overlay has,
It has some home office kind of stuff.
well, it says mixed-use residential, I don't know
There's,
if that needs to be struck.
no, find the asterisk.
Well, there was no asterisk.
There's an asterisk in the earlier version. It limits it to adjacent residential within the,
Well, yeah, like I said, this is all that was given to me, so
yeah.
I just copy and pasted what was sent to me.
Well, this is good that we're working through these
Yeah.
details. I'm excited that we were engaged.
So that might be something, that's something that we need to get those asterisks.
We'll pull it out. All right.
I don't know.
Oh, I'm in the wrong one. No wonder I can't find this.
We're gonna go round and around. So I thought we were just approving it. We didn't have a meeting in April either, did we? What are we doing right now? What's the third one?
I think it's just, this is it.
Oh, those two. Is there anything else on the agenda?
So I had to,
These three ordinances.
I had some language, some sample language for the street.
I'm a little confused on the boundaries also on the residential. I understand First Street, but I don't know where the backside of the boundary is.
Let's see if we can figure that out.
It looks like it's picking up the property that's split between the back of the assembly, or the front of the assembly, whatever you want to call it. But I can't tell, there's no road.
You know, I guess I am less concerned about parcel lines being split because part of the
permissiveness of this document is that subdivision would be allowed. And so even if we were to make it adhere to all the current parcel boundaries, it might very well not be relevant anymore.
Well, does it apply just to the lots that are on First Street? That face First Street?
No, it looks like it goes to Second Street. In its current
Second
iteration.
Street's not on here.
It's not labeled, but it is the next street past First Street.
Second
between-
Street doesn't go all the way through there, does it?
No, but they get a line. So originally, if y'all remember, well, I guess you wouldn't have been a part of it, but Alec and the mayor were a part of it. Originally, it went to 4th Street, and the subcommittee that was working on this thought that was just too far from a beginning to try this out. We thought we'd have the idea to expand it later, so they dropped it back to 2nd Street. But 2nd Street isn't a full street, through street, so they just approximated the lines. But again, then there's existing language within our zoning ordinance to deal with properties that split along zoning districts, and Jonathan may have it in his head. I know I've read it, but I don't have it right in my head. But basically, it allows for some flexibility. It's not creating a problem per se. It might, in a worst case scenario, ask the landowner to come back and ask for one or the other of the zoning regulations to apply to the whole parcel, and I think that can be made to happen. I can't remember exactly what the language is, but there's a solution in the zoning ordinance already.
I have to look to see that. I know when you have a split parcel, typically with a split zone parcel, you do have to adhere to both zoning, you have to adhere to both zoning regulations. Because your side setback may be different depending, like you have R1, R2. So usually the best way is to kind of look at it right in the middle, so you're not really going to be afoul of anything. Because like you're not going to have to worry about that. But I know uses are different. So like if you have a commercially zoned property and a residentially zoned property that's split zone, you can't put a commercial use on any portion that's residentially zoned.
Yeah, but with an overlay zone, that's going to be much
Yeah.
less of an issue. So
Yeah.
we're not affecting the underlying zoning with the residential overlay.
Yeah, exactly, because it's mostly, since residential that's getting impacted. Yeah, I guess the question, I think you're saying, like, are we ready to, because it seems like there's stuff that we need to add to this.
I'm not ready.
ordinance.
I'll be honest with you.
So that we're not wasting time and, we're not going back and forth on this, and then it all comes to the conclusion that we need to pay.
Well, I guess where I am is I'd love to work through these issues in this body. This is the body that needs to make the decision on these issues, so I would encourage us to just work through them. That's why I came today, is to help do that.
I guess making sure, is there any other issues that we can
Right.
address here?
Well, we may have to have a workshop to work through them, but we can identify issues. My issue is going to be defining, end property. I'm on Main Street and I'm on Church Street in the back. So how are you defining, it looks to me like on Church Street, it doesn't start until, the property looks like it starts at Carter Underhill's.
The
Side.
adjacent residential?
The residential overlay.
Yes, that's correct.
Looks like this is based off of parcel data, so that would be, basically somebody would look at this map and say, where's my parcel located on this, and whether or not they're in the residential. I guess the difficulty with doing that is, somebody does any subdivision in the future, the parcels do change a little bit.
Yeah, and
In terms of how the
again,
map looks.
when we first, as a subcommittee, began to work through this, the boundaries were very different, and there was not a whole lot of intentionality in the outer boundaries of it, because the thought was, if this is successful, we can make it bigger, but this is something that we could start with. So, to your question, Richard, if you want to define the adjacent overlay as extending to Second Street as built on the east side of North Bluff Drive and to Third Street on the west side of North Bluff Drive, so that it has definition. That, I think everybody would be totally fine with that. We thought as a subcommittee that as Eric Kromberg had drawn it out to 4th Street and all the way down to the interstate on the south side, that it was probably, because it was experimental, it was probably too big to do in a big way. So that's,
I understand, for us sitting here right now, listening, that's great. But 4 years from now, 2 years from now, whoever else is sitting in here is gonna have to rely on what we're asked to approve today, and I think it's our burden, I think it's our responsibility to give them a document.
no, those people can change it.
They can fix what we did wrong, is what you're saying?
Well, no, if they decide that they want to make it larger, they can make it larger. If they decide they want to make it smaller, they
It's the
can make it
dispute.
smaller.
I'm trying to eliminate the dispute. Where
No, no,
we're clear and defined, where we don't have these arguments, where one ends and where one begins from that perspective.
Yeah, so I think, and I guess what I'm saying is, this is the body in which to do that, and let's do that. Would you rather have it on the north side follow streets? Is that easier?
Well, that's my thought, because once you cross the street, you have another parcel. You have another parcel, where does that end? You know, so
Okay.
what's their backyard? So you just picked up another block. You with me?
Yeah, so we could, that would be then, making the drawing match streets, I would say the residential overlay running from 41 to North Central Avenue, extending from the C1 corridor north to 2nd Street or 3rd Street as built, and then you have a fully defined area.
Yeah, but I think that's part of the definition problem. When you say 41, what side of 41?
The west side of 41.
The west side of 41? So you're including all of 41 then?
The road itself?
Well, that's what I mean. So aren't you on the east side of 41?
This looks like it's showing most of its property on both sides of 41.
On both sides?
I'm
There's
sorry,
some property on both sides.
Yeah.
I was
But is
dealing
that
with the
what they
highway to
want?
Tracy City. What is it
I
called?
don't know why.
The highway to Tracy
Where
City,
that
it's
was
not 41, is it?
Uh-huh.
It is 41. Yeah, I was dealing with the
So what I'm
Tracy
saying, when
City.
you come up 41, there's a monument place and all that.
They're just thinking about the difference.
So if you go to the west side of 41, you're picking up the road. If you stay on the east side, you stop at the depot.
But this is coming in, and this is the depot right here, right?
I need to define.
No, it's not on that side of 41.
That's 41.
Yeah,
No, but it's on this side of,
I think what this
Yeah, but
is,
this piece is not.
no, I don't know what that piece is.
It looks to me like Dean Lay's monument
places in the,
piece right there on College.
That might be the monument place.
That's residential now?
it's in the residential overlay, so we're not changing the zoning.
Is
The
it in the
underlying
Is it in
zoning.
is
residential
it in a
now?
residential zone?
No,
No.
Why would it be in the residential overlay on a commercial zone?
because it would allow for, within the C1, it is within C1, and so within C1, it would allow additional permissions within the, I think that's right. Let's see.
I mean,
Or it's
your whole
mistake.
message here, your mission statement was to create a walkable environment. And then we're going down here and picking up commercial property on 41 and trying to put it in a residential
Well-
overlay.
It's going into C1, so no, it's not. It's currently zoned.
It's going west, it's going to McDonald's.
It's currently zoned residential. I'm looking at this map.
This is where it be.
Are we looking at the right place?
Beans. Now, there has been rezoning since.
Yeah, so this is, it's zoned R1. It's the portions that are zoned R1.
And I don't think we want to sit here 3 hours and
I don't think it takes,
record it.
that's the portion of Dean's property that's zoned R1.
That committee is inefficient.
Used to be, but I think it was changed. There was a house there was a beauty parlor there, they tell me, and something else. I incorporated it, I think. It's been a while.
If you look on our zoning map, it'll have the update
Let's
again,
look.
because this was,
Yeah, on that map, it's zoned R1, which is why it's in the residential.
There was one
overlay.
piece that was R1. There was a
I know
beauty parlor and something else.
Dean's done some rezonings in the last the year or two, so I don't know where all his rezonings were.
Yeah, I don't remember, but there were zoning changes.
I'm pulling it up.
So, can I ask a question? So this residential overlay will make some commercial property, some property that's currently zoned C1.
No, I misspoke. It only applies to R1, to residential zones.
Oh, you did say that.
And that is now currently, it's still on our current map zoned R1, that is why it is there.
So none of the residential overlay applies to any commercial property?
No, it's the C1 corridor. So Dean's property currently is zoned R1 on the back side.
I thought it was the front, because the back was that tile building.
I'm just looking at the map.
Yeah, I know, but I'm telling you what was theirs, because I own that parcel. There's the piece in the back, there was a tile shop and construction and all that, and there was a home up front, part of the Custis family, I think, and somebody told me there was a beauty parlor up front. So I think it was a combination of R1 and
Yeah.
C1 or something.
And so that map in the residential overlay is trying to deal with that R1.
Is where the city barn is that commercial or residential?
What's the city boy?
Whatever you have to call it down here, behind
Oh, yeah.
That's residential.
the city where you guys meet at, I call it city barn.
Oh, that's the shop?
That's residential.
That's, well, it's residential across the street, I don't know what, it's probably commercial or something.
It's R1.
It's R1? Well, you have the Bigfoot on the corner, and you have,
Bigfoot is C1, that's the next block up.
yeah. But I'm saying that corner going south, you go from Bigfoot to the shop.
Yeah, and the shop is residential.
Okay. No, I'm familiar with the site, I don't know about the map, I'm just telling you what's there.
I was just trying to get my bearings.
Okay, so what do we do?
I don't believe we can vote on either of these tonight.
Then I would say let's schedule a workshop, get it resolved, and move forward. We've been talking about it for a while.
So I don't know if we need to withdraw it right now, I don't know what.
you would take, if you're,
Is the only issue the definition?
I don't know, we'll talk about that in the workshop.
Okay.
I don't know, I would assume that would be it, but.
I just want to remind everybody, that when you do a workshop is not, you don't deliberate in a workshop. So it's all about giving information and receiving information and talking about it.
Well, that's
So,
my
you know,
point. They'll prepare whatever
Yeah.
they're preparing with boundaries
So just have that,
for information, and we'll know. So when it does come to the meeting, we can
Yeah.
vote on it, we'll be ready. I only want information. I understand you can't
Yeah.
make decisions in workshops, but
You can discuss.
whatever you think.
But I think we need to come to the table at the workshop with any issue that we have, so it can be resolved before it's brought back.
Yeah, I thought that's what we were doing today, because we had a workshop last month on it where we went through some issues, and it sounds like the temporary dwellings wasn't removed, and I apologize that I confirmed that didn't happen.
Well, today we are here to vote on it, and if you want us to vote on it, we will. But I don't think you want us to vote on it.
Well, if there are outstanding issues, no, I would just like to work through the outstanding issues. And then whether we need to bring another draft back in next month for voting,
I think
this
yeah.
is the proper venue for
When they
deliberation.
say we need to deliberate, if you guys have issues, tell the issues here. Because you shouldn't really be telling the issues at the workshop.
This is the
Yeah.
forum for that.
This is the information session, is a workshop, is an information session where you can go into more detail if you have questions about things, but if you have issues, and because you're deliberating right now, you're saying, I have issues with the map, I have issues with the uses. And say, okay, these are the issues, I want to see corrections next month.
So I had developed a definition, or Grant and I just did, for the commercial, and I'm willing to sit here and draft a definition of the residential overlay that is based on streets. If there are other issues, I'd love to work through the issues, and then we can insert these definitions and have a finished document to vote on perhaps at the next meeting. But this is the forum where we should be talking about these details. So,
Whatever you want to do. If he's,
Now, is this concerning both ordinances or just the second one? Did the first one already
I
pass?
think he's
No,
working
no,
on both of
no,
them.
no, the first one hasn't passed.
first one's done. Would you like to hear the language, and maybe that will at least,
Are we giving up on the second one, and I withdraw my motion
yeah, we're on.
on that one too?
And then Dan withdraws his second.
I withdraw it. The motion to recommend approval of the second ordinance.
And you say,
second.
you withdraw your second.
Yes.
Okay, so there's no motions on the table at this time.
I'd like to hear what Nate has composed.
so the definition of a primary street within the C1 corridor. The north side of Main Street beginning on the east side of intersection of US 41, headed toward Pelham, in parentheses, and Main Street, so that intersection, extending east along Main Street to King Street. On the south side of Main Street, from the east side of Catherine Avenue to the elementary school property line. Primary Street also extends on College Street, beginning at the intersection of Assembly Ave and College Street, running east on the north and south side of College Street to King Street. And a secondary street would be defined as any public street located within the downtown C1 corridor not defined as primary street above.
Okay, I just have one point. Which line of Mount Eagle Elementary? The east boundary or the
Very
west
good.
boundary?
It's going to be the west boundary.
And while you're at it, I think your eastern terminus in both should be the west side of King Street rather than just King Street.
That way you're not in the street business or crossing the street.
To the
Anything
west
else?
line.
We got so loud, they sent an officer in here on.
Kind of, I'm getting a little nervous.
So I've made those edits. So it now reads, north side of Main Street beginning on the east side of intersection of US 41A, parentheses, headed toward Pelham, and Main
That's
Street.
not, that's 41, not 41A.
Oh, I'm sorry, I said 41, I don't know why. I typed 41, I don't know why I read 41A. And Main Street, extending along Main Street to the west line, I need to add the west line of King Street. On the south side of Main Street, from the east side of Catherine Ave to the western boundary of the elementary school property line. It also extends on College Street, beginning at the intersection of Assembly Avenue and College Street, running east on the north and south side of the street to the west side of King Street. So I'm going to add, to be consistent, on the east side of the intersection of Assembly Avenue.
And just so everybody knows, the south side of College Street that he just referred to is protected right now because we've got some restrictions on the greenway. But it's probably good to have both north and south side of College Street in this language for whatever may happen in the future.
Let me ask, let's talk about if I own the property where the park is, Hardin Park is.
Yep.
So that's covered in any of that? That's covered in
That's
any-
primary Main Street.
Is it covered all the way to the back of the property down Central?
But we're talking about streets here.
I understand, streets.
This is just a definition of street.
But the street is a,
But is that zoning gonna be for
No,
that?
it's related to the frontage on that street.
Is that what this document says?
Yeah, so the document has, in the diagrams, you'll see it has different requirements for a primary, fronting on a primary and fronting on a secondary, and how they intersect with one another when a primary meets a secondary, which would be the case at the police station.
So if you could build on the frontage, on the front, on College.
And you can do something different along the back. Yes.
Okay. I mean, it's clear defined when you're looking at it going on that side of the road, because you've got roads that, there's no first street that goes through there.
Yeah.
Okay.
So in thinking about the residential overlay, you know, I would encourage us to do a very simple definition that, I mean, it could be as easy as a line running east, generally east and west, parallel to First or Second Street as it's built. You know, we can create a written definition like that. And again, the idea is not that this is something that is hard and fast, at least from the committee's perspective. This was a starting point, and there may very well be people who would be interested. So, you know, at our last meeting, you know, Deborah was asking about her property on, which is between 3rd and 4th Street, which was in the original definition, but not in this later definition, because we thought it was a little much to take on. Another idea we had that I think we talked about as a planning commission, that, at least in the workshop, is the idea that this residential overlay permissions could be allowed within a PUD. That's nothing we've done now, but the idea is that we could say that a planned use development could also conform to these, and then it can sort of be all over the place. But, you know, the idea is that this is a start, not hard and fast. And particularly when we think about the outer boundaries of the residential overlay, yeah, it can move.
What do you think?
Well, I mean, I guess we have to have, if we're gonna sit here and walk through it, we've gotta let him write it, and then we've gotta either accept it or not accept it.
Are you putting what you read to us as,
Well, I was just going to propose, right now, it is the residential overlay. You know, let me put up Google Maps and make sure I get the street names right. Oh, I got it here in the zoning map.
Nate, you're gonna have to figure out where to put this language, because neither ordinance currently has any written description.
Yeah, I think Richard's idea is a good one, that we need to have a more polished document to vote on. I just am thinking that we're here and we're dug into it. Let's work through these issues so that we give Jonathan the information he needs to move on, rather than have another workshop, because we already had a workshop, or two, we've had multiple workshops on this.
So you don't expect us to, you're not asking us to vote on it tonight? You're just trying to get a document, because we don't have anything?
Yeah, I'm
we
trying
can vote
to
on
get all the
tonight.
language right.
Just need to have language so we can know, okay, exactly. We're not coming back here next month saying, well,
Okay.
what language are we supposed to put here? What are we supposed
We
to
don't have
do
anything
here?
to look at.
How should
Right,
this?
yeah.
We can't share your laptop. in this packet.
No, this is about deliberation and figuring out, working through the issues.
Because I think issues have been brought up, so I think we need to, I think Nate's right, so deliberate these issues and figure out how can you change these issues.
well, let's do one ordinance at a time. What's the first ordinance?
I think he's working on the commercial.
C1.
So that was the language. Does that sound right to y'all for C1?
Yeah.
Okay.
For the primary and secondary street, that's what he was.
Yeah. So
Okay,
then,
so you'll send that to Jonathan?
yes.
And he'll incorporate that for our review next meeting?
Yes, and so to your concern about Dean Lace property, the beginning of the residential overlay should probably read any residentially zoned district, so R1 through R4, that is pertinent to the C1 corridor, right? So it has to touch the C1 corridor to be in it. Extending south of Main Street 2, and I'm just looking here. So again, originally Eric had it to the interstate.
That's a super easy definition if y'all want to do that, but maybe you don't want to take it on that far. There aren't any great east-west running streets on the south side of, their Lydia Street is a very short one.
They have a church.
Yeah, but.
Church is the demarcation between C1 and the residential districts.
Nate, Nate, do you have the ability to get Eric to modify the drawing? Because it is not going to show the same thing you just read us in language text.
I think with set D, I can work with set D to do the drawings, and then they're in our house. That's going to be easier. I'm about out of money with Eric in this tranche, so
We can
probably
put
talk him
some,
into
as
doing
long as
it.
you give us what parcels you want, we can put, we can do these overlays
Yeah.
anyway. Because again, when you guys get the overlay, we're gonna have to add an overlay layer to our zoning map.
Let me say, I would suggest that the residential overlay not include the monument company and related buildings that are on the west side of Highway 41, even if they are currently zoned residential. I think that is a long way from the center of what we're trying to deal with here in downtown. I don't know, I don't speak for
I
everybody.
agree with you, 100%.
If they were zoned something other than residential, it would disappear anyway. So I don't know if
Did
that
you
was
just
fixed.
tell us that you checked in their zone residential?
It is currently zoned residential.
Yeah.
It's zoned R1. So they had stopped it at a series of short streets that are not actually labeled. Let me pull up another map.
Some of them don't even look like they're streets.
Church is one block off of Main Street.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
and
Back
all
the
the
other
property
part.
north of Church is commercial.
Right, okay.
And
Well,
now
I'm
they're trying to
trying to
decide what the southern boundary is, how you define this, and there are not any cross streets to refer
no,
to.
back there, but is that C1?
This is residential.
Yeah, but is it part of C1?
No, residential.
That's what I thought, right.
Could we do something, I mean, if we're gonna put math, we're gonna do something, and this is, if we're looking at this as, this is the first step.
Yeah.
Why not do all R1 property from Church Street to the interstate? And just focus on that, so that way we're getting something for people to start looking that they can do something. And then same here, all R1 zone property north of, north of First Street to 4th Street. Those are clearly defined. We have a zoning ordinance that says this, and that way we can put it in writing and say, hey, all R1 are R1. And it allows you where you're putting you have your low density, but you're saying we're allowing some additional density in these R1s. Because your R3 is your high density. That's all this. And that's something that, we're not as concerned with your medium higher density. We're looking at these R1 densities that are having trouble potentially getting more density in there. Is that something that you guys
You're
think
referring
makes-
to the overlay.
Yeah. Yes. So basically, we can put the map and we can put the R1, or we could just literally get rid of the map and say text. I would say actually get rid of the map, because we're looking at this as the first step. If we're looking at the first step, then somebody's looking for the residential overlay. What they're going to do is say all R1 property south of Church Street to the north side of the interstate. All R1 property north of First Street to 4th Street.
I think you want to hit all residential property though.
Well, I think it's, I don't know, I mean, you can do that, but
There's less change in the R3
Mhm.
because the R3 already allows some of this density, but it doesn't allow all this density.
And maybe you want to do that.
Mr. Chairman,
Question.
I mean, are we doing that to make it easy because interstates are a line or?
It's already
What's the purpose of
zoned
doing it?
residential, so why are you saying that just because you're south of Crow Drive,
Crow Drive,
you
yeah.
can't have a residential overlay? That seems pretty arbitrary in that situation. So like,
Yeah, that's the way it was originally proposed, and I think there were a couple of us that were like, wow, while it's great, there were some people in the committee that thought that was just
Because
a lot of
if
pound.
I'm property owner there, I might say, why can't I build something? My neighbor right across the street can do this. The only thing separating us is a small street versus an entire interstate. I think that's where you're looking to see if you're looking to put your residential overlay, because you got to figure out what is the purpose of this residential overlay. Is that your residential districts close to your downtown, you want to have increased density, because that's where you actually have, you have sewer there, you have potentially the ability to increase that capacity, whereas some of your other residential zone districts, you don't necessarily have that capacity right now to handle that.
And I will, that's a good point that Jonathan makes. The original overlay was based on our sewer lines.
Based on what?
Based on our sewer lines, where we had sewer on those adjacent residential areas to the C1 where we had continuous sewer. That made the northern boundary, I think.
Because
on
that's
that.
what really determines how much density you can
My
put.
recollection is it was also that when the committee had the idea of moving the northern boundary south of 4th Street, a couple of blocks, it was in part based on the idea that we want to get this potential higher density residential, smaller building residential close to downtown. You know, you go all the way to the interstate, that you're not talking about a walkable territory anymore.
I mean, it's still 4 blocks to the interstate on the south side.
It angles pretty far south there, you know, so.
Yeah, well, a lot of that's going to be commercial, so that's going to fall out anyway because that's in the commercial. That's in the C3 corridor. So Crow Drive is the map that is unclear, is a line running east to west, roughly east and west, parallel to Crow Drive. And so that would be written language that would preserve the intent of the current map. I like Jonathan's idea, but I recognize that that's a bigger bite, and maybe we don't want to do that. So a written defined would be a line running parallel to Crow Drive. Crow Drive is looks like it's about 4 blocks long, so it doesn't span that whole area. It runs parallel to Main Street. I show y'all if you're interested. So that's Crow.
Okay.
And that's currently what the map sort of shows.
You've had your public meeting, right? You've had your public meeting presenting this?
We have had an unofficial public meeting, so if you guys choose to approve and send this at some point to the council will have one meeting and then there'll be another public meeting on it.
But you've had a public meeting,
Correct.
unofficial, approving what we're looking at.
We have invited the public, we invited all the members of the downtown property owners in, and we did a public gathering, and there were 20 people here, I
But
guess.
you presented what we're looking at,
Correct.
the overlay area.
The limited overlay area, that is correct.
But now you're wanting to even expand it, even after you've already presented it?
No, I'm saying it's up to y'all, what y'all want to do with it. So the current line is Crow Drive, and so to do a written form of what's in the map, we would demarcate the southern boundary of the line running parallel to Crow Drive.
I'll tell you the truth, Nate, I think it would be preferable to go by parcels, if Jonathan can do that, because I think we have no idea how many parcels would split along the line running east and west from Crow Drive.
Is Crow
Well,
Drive
the
on
difficulty
road?
is when you put a parcel in the zoning, again,
Yeah,
you start putting, I mean, again, the reason we're able to know like zoning is we do have all these parcels and we have the shape files and stuff, but an overlay is different because it will change in the future, presumably. Your overlay will have different things. And when you put it on a map, I don't know if we can put like parcel data, like you don't want to put like a whole list of parcels in your zoning ordinance, because then you're going to have to go back and change every time. You know, because if somebody subdivides a piece of property, that parcel changes.
Is Crow Drive on our road list?
Yes.
We recognize it as a road?
I would
hope so, because
Well, the-
it's right in the middle of town, but.
No, I know, but I just want to make sure that it's.
That's why I say a residential overlay should be based on the residential zoning district.
Yeah.
Because it's not based on the parcel, it's based on, I get what you guys are saying there. I get what Nasal's saying, that he wants to include some in that R3. But if you're just doing this from a very first start and looking at this, I think the R1 makes a lot more sense because it's a smaller portion of each, and it also already is your lowest density, because this is where it would do the most good, is in your lower density zone district, your lowest density zone district. I've seen other, and again, this is mostly with like mixed use overlays. I've seen mixed use overlays where people allow, you can petition, and that's more on a case by case basis. It sounds like that's something that you guys don't really want to do, because you don't want to have to get every single property owner just building a house saying, I want to petition this and go through all this. Some of them do that. Some of them also do have an overlay. Again, I think it really needs to be based on the zoning district rather than a parcel, because the parcels will change in the future. Somebody subdivides a piece of property, that's two different parcels that have two different numbers that were not included originally.
Crow is on our road list.
I'm sorry?
Crow is on the road list.
Because I see a few parcels here that could probably be subdivided that's within the current plan. So that it's difficult to do that, because when you have a map that shows it, even if the parcel changes, the overall map still stays the same.
Yeah, and the other thing to think about is, I know this seems like a zoning change, but it's not. So if your property is bisected by this, and you want to do a higher density, they can come to the planning commission and say, I would like my whole parcel included in this residential overlay. If they don't want to do anything with the residential overlay at all, they don't have to. It's just an additional permission. It's not additional mandate.
So wait, does this residential overlay go to planning commission? Because I don't see anything within that makes it go to planning commission. Because that's a very different thing. If it goes to planning commission.
Did y'all do a count on how many open lots are available on First?
No, because this
Back
is, part of the residential overlay is to allow redevelopment of existings.
I'm talking about currently. Probably what, less than 5 on First Street?
Yeah, we looked at them in a very coarse sense, but since this is about redevelopment, it didn't seem germane, so we didn't dwell on it.
So it's about tearing something down and rebuilding, is that what you're saying?
Well, and allowing for higher density on a lot. So there is a property owner on First Street who is waiting for this to happen because they want to build some higher density on their property on First Street, and it's a single family lot right now.
And then going back, you're saying coming to planning commission. Like, is some of the property owners expected to come to planning commission when they want to abide by the residential overlay district?
No, but if they would like to build at a density that is not allowed in their underlying zoning and part of their parcel were in the residential overlay district, I would think they would need to come to the planning commission to ask for their whole parcel to be included in the residential overlay, wouldn't you think?
Yeah, I mean, you would have to do that. Again, I think, I'm looking at this, I think there's, the issues I see is, again, it is based off of, you have multiple different zoning districts involved, and it is based on a parcel by parcel basis. So, but we can't really regulate on a parcel by parcel basis. Or you shouldn't
That's
really
true of all
regulate.
zoning. That's true of all zoning, yeah.
So that's, again, it's up to what you guys are wanting, what the intent of this, what are you guys wanting out of this as a town? If you're wanting a true walkable environment, then really, you shouldn't be able to have a walkable environment all the way to the interstate.
Yeah.
You really should. Like, that's what you should want as a town. That's the closest you are to your downtown, and you're not having that, you don't have as those aren't major streets south of the interstate. You know, so those are things that you should want. Do you want to go and take that bite right now is the question, or make it, or whether it's ease of how you do your ordinance. I said, if you have difficulty in saying, my suggestion is, if you're concerned about doing all of this, just limit it to the R1 for right now, and then you can expand it in the future.
How do you apply that same definition on the other side of the road?
Same thing I said, so you have all R1 properties north of 1st Street to the south of 4th Street. All currently.
All the way to 4th Street?
Yeah. Or you can put all the way to 2nd Street if you want.
Yeah, and
That's
Jonathan's,
the way it is now.
3rd Street.
Jonathan's.
Where it's drawn is,
No, it goes to Third.
I thought, well, it goes to one side of Third. It goes to the back of Second, which would be one side of Third. But if you don't own the whole lot, it's not going to Third, right?
Are any of
I
these
know Second
I
Street
don't
doesn't go through there, so I can't really tell.
I don't see any parcels that are split zone there.
You know, I think Jonathan's perspective is an interesting one, because what he's trying to do, I think, is really correct. If you think about zoning from a planning standpoint, you really, and a lot of bigger cities do this, and it's not surprising that Monteagle zoning map doesn't conform to this, but you would have your Main Street corridor, and then you would have R3, and then you would have R2, and then you would have R1, so that your density got gradually less as you move away from your main commercial corridor. Our zoning map doesn't look that way, and so we thought an easy way to do that would be to apply a residential overlay proximate to the downtown corridor, because it didn't mess with the issues associated with changing your underlying zoning. And so I know it seems like it almost seems like we're having a conversation about changing the zoning. We're having a conversation. The residential overlay allows additional permissions within the zoning, but it doesn't change the underlying zoning. I don't know if that's helpful or not, but that's I think is why Jonathan's focusing on the R1, because it's not typical to have R1 zoning a block off of your main street. That's because from a planning standpoint, you want to have higher density in those locations. Having R2 and R3 adjacent to your main street is much more normal, and we've got some R3 on both the north and the south side, pretty close to our residential. I mean, to our commercial corridor.
I guess that's the question I have. Like, I would do away with the map and just have the text writing the currently zoned properties and having where it's, because when I'm looking in the eyes of a property owner and saying, okay, I want to be able to know. I don't want to have to go and figure out all this stuff. I know what my zoning is, and I want to know, do I qualify for a residential overlay? So all I do is look, say, yeah, I am R1, south of this and north of that, or et cetera.
I mean, if you wanted to make it even simpler, I think your earlier point is a good one. So maybe you qualify for the residential overlay for any parcel within current residential zoning in the town of Monteagle with access to sufficient sewer capacity. And then you've created a zone by the infrastructure, and it's really the infrastructure that's going to drive this development anyway. If that makes sense. I mean, there are a lot of ways to think about it, and I'm not frustrated. This is a good conversation to have. This is the right place to have it and the right time to have it. We need to be thinking about these things.
But how's the resident gonna know if they got sufficient?
They would have to reach out to this town staff for the sewer, because your sewer is gonna know, hey, I want to be able to put this, and they're saying, yeah, you can hook enough to that, but you can't. Because that's just math at that point.
Yeah, that's just math. And any developer who wants to develop a lot is going to, come and see what infrastructure is in place before they do it.
Mr. Chairman, I got a question. If we, I'm switching gears, I'm going back to the downtown zoning district ordinance. previously, it was going out and it was covering, going into Papa Ron's parking lot. Well, just beyond the parking lot is, what, the church, and then goes into the flea market. If that's all gonna be developed, and we're thinking about going, things in the future, should we think about go ahead and extending this to include the flea market?
I think, Dan, I think you're confusing the street designation with the zoning. So it currently, we're talking about changing the C1 zoning, which does extend that far.
Flea market is C2.
The flea market splits it. So the Papa Ron's and the next parcel is in C1, and then it moves to C2. But the primary and secondary street designation that we were talking about earlier drives what happens on the frontage of that street, but the actual zoning is different. So the C1 downtown corridor will change to what's allowed within the zoning.
Okay.
And then it has particular ways that buildings front within the primary and the secondary corridor, and it has some different permitted uses within the primary and the secondary corridor. So what we were defining earlier was that primary street. So that C1 corridor will extend beyond the primary street, but that'll be secondary street. Yeah.
You know, if there was gonna be some financial benefit to the developers, I just wanted to be sure we were encompassing that area, because I want that to get filled.
Yeah, so I think the way to think about the difference between the primary and secondary street is that within the primary street corridor, we are limiting greatly the residential opportunities so that we can focus commercial.
Okay.
And within the secondary street sections, we're saying we'd love to have some fun commercial here, and there are also some residential opportunities if that's a better way to develop your property. Is that helpful?
Yeah, okay.
I can't hear you.
We're not going to vote tonight. I'm going to need to leave. Okay. I don't want to mess up your quorum if you're going to have something to vote on.
Well, we're going to probably need to adjourn.
Well, you can still talk.
We don't have any business.
You can still talk.
Yeah, I'm good.
Oh, yeah, I apologize, but
So, before you go out, do we need, is boundary the hang-up on this residential overlay, or are there other things? Because I'm happy to draft something, and then we can talk about it at the next meeting.
I like the idea, of, like Jonathan was proposing, take it out really to not to split lots, take it up to the interstate or what the other boundaries that you were speaking of. But that's, to me, I mean, we want the growth, and I'm in support of that. I would just want to be sure that we're taking care of the other businesses. I want the growth, period.
What do y'all think? Are there other issues that we need to work on? Because it sounds like Jonathan's got some ideas.
I can put something that I think if we're looking at this in a first stages approach, then I can make it as first stages as we want. That I think makes it easier, because I think the thing is not, when you make it easy, I think Richard was saying it, we do want to make it easy, because you want to make it so that way a developer or a property owner says, hey, I don't have to guess whether or not, I know what my underlying zoning is, and I know where I'm located. I can do this. That is what allows it, and that makes it easier for somebody to understand versus saying, well, let me look at this map and make sure I'm in this map.
Well, can you and Nate hammer out these
Yeah,
points and
I can
come
do
back
that.
with something?
Yeah.
And I will, to your point from earlier about undeveloped lots, I think I've said this before, and I'll say it again, the second phase, the foundation that's funding this work is interested in identifying some willing landowners and doing some spec drawings and bringing some ideas, both to the Planning Commission and potentially to the marketplace. And so there are potentially more undeveloped lots in some of those R2 areas, particularly south of Main Street. So for the second phase, that would give us more flexibility if we included that. I do think that the early adopters are not going to be the redevelopments. The early adopters are going to be somebody who owns a lot and was considering doing a residential development.
Yeah. in terms of this, I mean, I would recommend you guys just vote to table all these ordinances to next month. So that way we can have us do the revisions.
Okay.
So you can.
You okay, table?
Yeah, I mean, I'm all for getting it right, so
We have
don't.
a motion to table.
A second.
We have a second. All those for? All against?
Just make sure this is
Any other-
tabling all three ordinances.
All three proposed ordinances.
Yeah, which we
Yeah.
never talked about permitted uses table.
Talked about what?
Still,
Yeah, we never talked about
I
that.
still move for the table.
Okay.
Because you gotta go. Yeah.
Yeah, I apologize, but I have some matters.
Okay, we do need to adjourn the meeting before you leave, because we do have a, well, actually, we don't need that, but never mind.
If he leaves before it adjourns, does the meeting
Yeah.
stay open? Because they got no quorum
We
to close it?
still have a quorum, yeah, we need to adjourn the meeting before he closes, yes, before he leaves.
Or else you got not enough votes to close the
Did
meeting?
you have anything else?
I do not.
Okay.
Let me just ask, any other properly presented new business?
You guys okay with Jonathan and I bouncing around several different options for the residential overlay on how it's defined? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
I move we adjourn.
Mike, second. Alex, second. All those for?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you all.